Okay, quick test. Can you hear me okay? Alright, okay. Also, can I just double check that low volume? Right, thanks. Give me a second. Okay, is this any better? I'm trying to work with this. I made the mistake of going into the newer version of the live stuff, and I don't do live very often, but I haven't used this before, and it's all a bit different from what I was expecting. Right, so one last thing to check is just make sure you can see the picture of the water droplet. I don't know how much delay there is on this as well, which is also a pain. Right. There's obviously a bit of a delay. It's all a bit weird that when you're talking and it takes 30 seconds before anybody hears what you're saying. So, oh man. Okay, that's your problem, Barry. um. Okay, as I don't want to waste too much time, just as long as the general setup appears to be okay. Um, if anybody's having problems hearing while I'm talking, then just let me know in the chat. I've been watching Jose. It's actually one of the things I was going to talk about. Um, his channel, and I noticed it's every time I try to watch it, there's an awful lot of buffering problems and stuff like that. I don't know. I think Tim was saying there was problems with Hangouts and things like this recently as well. So I don't really know what's going on there, but we'll see how it goes. Right, so let me just switch over to the desktop and then hold on, just get this tab. Right, as I say, I know there's a delay, but if you guys can just let me know in the chat that the screen is switched okay and it's no longer the water droplet and you're looking at my high IQ research multi-tab browser screen. Right, sorry about all the messing about. The the thing with this live stream, the reason I'm doing it in the first place is because I've had all these little bits and bobs that I've kind of either wanted to do little, quick videos about or whatever, and it's just accumulated over the week. And I thought, sod it, I'll just do, try and cover it all in one space. But I'm not exactly the best organised person, so you'll just need to bear with me while I try and crack through this. And new stuff keeps getting added as well, wee things that I want to add to the list. So, hopefully it won't take too long to go over too much. And if I feel like it's running on too long, I'll just shut up and quit. So a new thing that got added on to talk about just briefly before I crack on with the stuff I was originally going to do the stream for was, I'm assuming a few of you have seen the videos that MC Toon and Planar Walk have put out in response to, there's been recent so-called revelations with Jeranism, IPS, and a few other people who seemingly stumbled across this Earth-shaped field asset document, which was basically a ruse. Now, if you're not aware of that yet, you can go to Planarwalk's channel. Oh, excellent. The memory on my computer seems to be struggling with all the high IQ stuff. Give it a second to load. Alright, so Planarwalk did this video tonight. Sorry, this is MC Toon's channel, I should say. MC Toon did this video tonight. He ended up speaking to IPS. And, whoops. And this is Planarwalk's video which he did earlier on. He was really the person that helped kind of sell the ruse on Twitter a bit, actually, so he did a good job with that. So anyway, if you have seen this, what you will probably have seen is that there was a kind of group of people that were involved with it. It was kind of MC Toon's baby, and the whole idea was to really just test flat earthers and see how they would respond to something like this. It was an obvious fake. If you took the time to critically analyse it, then you would you would definitely see that it was a fake, and that was all part of it. It was, one, to see if people were gullible enough to fall for it in the first place, and two, to demonstrate just how poor the critical thinking skills are of these flat earthers. And it's especially pertinent when you look at the people that run the bigger channels like Jeranism. If you watch Jeranism's video in this, what you'll see is he wants to sit there and tell you it's a fake, but at the same time he can't bring himself to say it's a fake for certain. He hedges his bets, and the thing about it is you can look at that a couple of ways, but it's either his own inbuilt paranoia prevents him from fully being able to dismiss it, or just as much his ego that should it just so happen to turn out to be true, well, then he can still be seen as one of the people who was able to expose it. But they've been made a mockery of. Night Soundly, and whoops, I'll just talk to you guys. Try to do two things at once. I'm not a good multitasker. Mendel. There was a few years. It was MC Toon, Planar Walk, Fight the Flat Earth, myself, Soundly. Actually, talking about the names on the list, when it got exposed, so to speak. Let me see if I can find this. Whoops, wrong tab. Give me a sec. When it got exposed, it was an early version, and you can see names on the list here from the second page where it's revealed that it was all just a joke. So these are the people that were involved, with the exception of Miles Davis. His name is on the list, but it shouldn't be on the list. So that was because really the way it was arranged was that MC Toon gave some people the opportunity to join in with the prank, and a few people expressed interest in that. And Miles was asked, and at first he was like, "Oh, that maybe sounds like a bit of fun," and then he kind of changed his mind, and he decided to distance himself from it. And so, that second page with Miles's name on it's not really accurate. But anyway, the whole point here was that it was a setup to test. This is something that you should notice when you come into Flat Earth fairly early on, is that they tend to believe pretty much anybody and anything on YouTube while they simultaneously deny any official source of information. So, this was what it was all about. It was kind of really proving that point that they're just selective, that they're not very critical, they're quite gullible, easy to fool. And this document, if you took the time to look at it, had several clues in it. I mean, apart from just the ridiculousness of the idea. We designed the logo. I helped kind of make some suggestions for the logo, and we've got like the ice wall running around the edge of it and things like this. I mean, it's so obvious if you took a few minutes to really look at it, if you were, unsure about it at first. So anyway, I don't want to kind of keep going on about this one. It's just because I was involved with it, I thought I'd kind of mention it, and obviously these guys have put out their videos tonight to explain what was going on properly. So if you haven't watched those videos, then check out MC Toon and Planar Walk's channels, and you'll get a kind of a much better background on what was going on with that. And also you'll get to hear IPS talking to MC Toon, and you'll see that he actually demonstrates exactly the kind of mentality that it was made to expose, because he tries to kind of make himself sound a bit more aloof to this kind of thing, and then can't help himself but talk about his own paranoia, and apparently has gone on to go back to his live streams and basically talk about it as if it was true again after being shown that it was fake. This just went back to top chat. God damn it. Everything seems to be stalled. I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping this isn't all broken down and I don't know about it. What the hell? Oh, come on. Okay, so now I don't know if the stream's working because nothing on my screen seems to be responding at the moment. Superb. And because the screen's not working, I can't see the chat, so I can't get any feedback from you guys. Should have known. Whoa. Okay. If the stream is still working, my screen has just gone blank. I'm going to give it a minute, see if everything, starts to respond again. And if everybody's still able to hear me while this is messing up, then I'll see what I can do to get it, back and working again. If need be, I'll start a fresh stream. Unbelievable. God damn it. Come on. Some a response. Right. Okay. Right. So I've got a bit of response back. Let's see if I can look at another tab without it going crazy. It's not happy. Let me try closing these. Sod's law, I never do live streaming and then this is what happens. Alright. So hopefully this was just a bit of a memory problem. Maybe I just had too many tabs open. Obviously I need to speak to NASA about getting better equipment. But I've closed the tabs I was talking about there. So as I say, check out MC Toon and Planar Walk's channels if you don't have the full story on it. And as I was saying, the conversation with IPS is probably useful because it helps to demonstrate what the joke was all about, really. Seriously, crap volume. Okay, can I get more feedback on the audio volume again, please? This is a bloody nightmare. Right, I'm really sorry about this. This is obviously, I wasn't expecting to have stupid technical problems. The thing is, the mic's up as far as it can go, so short of boosting the gain or shouting into the microphone, I'm not really sure what else I can do, and I'm pretty close to the mic as well. Okay, so as I said earlier, I'll crack on, and then you can let me know. If you get any problems. Assuming my screen doesn't blank out on me again. If you have any problems with the audio and stuff like that, then just let me know in the chat. Thanks. Right, so let's see if I can get through the stuff that I was trying to talk about. So Jose, as I'm sure most people know, he, former flat earther, has recently started doing these daily open panel shows every day, and it's become very popular. And I think that's, it tells you something that these kind of things are popular, because this is how Nathan Oakley gained some popularity again the other year when he started doing this, because initially it was a proper open panel and people could just go on and chat, and he wasn't the vitriolic arsehole that he is now. But it's something that's sorely missing from the scene, I think. Excuse me. As somewhere where people can actually talk to each other. Obviously sometimes with an open panel it can get a bit crazy, especially if the panel's full and, personalities get in the way, people want to shout at each other and stuff like that. But the ability to engage in the free speech and to get the dialogue going, I think, is important, because for some people, I suppose you might have that general attitude that, flat earth is just stupid or whatever. But at the end of the day, the reason why there are people like myself and Soundly and Slice Arcane and whoever else you want to name that bothers to spend time on it, the reason we do it is obviously because the point is to try and provide some counter information, and it's no for the flat earthers who are totally, got their head buried into the subject. It's for people who are on the fence or new people that are maybe being dragged into it and stuff like that. So, I think anywhere where people can have some kind of dialogue about it so that the information is getting out there for people that we maybe don't think about who might be watching, I think it's important. And, Jose, I think it's good that he stuck around and decided to go this route and host the open shows. I say to him, it's something I consider doing myself because I think it's something that's needed. But I know I'm not the right person to do it. We'll just look at the last 5 minutes, but I'm no the kind of person that can fill a lot of dead air and stuff like that. So, I know my limitations. So I'm glad that somebody's doing it, and I think he'll keep going. He'll keep getting more popular with any luck. And same again, if there's anybody no bother to actually check this out yet, then definitely go over and check Jose out and subscribe to him and give him a bit of support, because I think it's important. I think we need it. Now, let's see if I can get my tabs to work. It's definitely still playing up a bit. Let me close that. Sorry guys, I forgot to put live chat on. Probably missing what you're saying. Skydog, I actually kind of agree with that. Although I think if you say to people it's an open panel, you have to still remember to be open. So we might not personally want to talk to certain people, but it's being hypocritical to say you've got an open panel and then pick and choose who should join. But what I would say is that I think that Jose needs to moderate a bit more. Sometimes things get really out of hand, and Jose is trying too hard to back off and not moderate and let people have free speech. But there needs to be a little bit of control in there just to keep it from getting messy, especially when a lot of people are shouting over the top of each other for the YouTube side of things. You just can't make out what's going on, and then you get people like Pete Shea coming in, and all they've got is insults once things stop going their way. And people like that who are just really ugly on the inside and they're only there for the fight when it comes down to it, you either need to kick them or you need to get them under control, in my opinion. So, welcome to the latecomers. So, I mean, I agree that there's got to be a certain amount of control. I also think another thing is that he's got some people in there who join and then they just sit on the panel for the entire length of the show. Now, normally I would say that's a problem in the sense that maybe they could make space and other people can get on. But that actually leads me to the other thing I meant to mention, which is the sniping he's been getting. And I think whoever's doing that, I don't care what side they're on, whoever's doing it is a fucking arsehole and they need to wrap it. Because it's so fucking ignorant to try and decide that you've got the control of YouTube and you should be able to shut down somebody's free and open hangout because you don't like somebody that's on the panel or whatever, And the irony is that these are the kind of people who probably consider themselves, the kind of people who, hate the sheep and the followers and stuff like that. And they're basically... they're going to sell themselves as the kind of people that are against the government and the state and all this because they try to control what you do, and they're just mirroring that behaviour themselves by trying to control free speech on somebody's platform. It's just it's hypocrisy and it's just ignorance. It's Jose's place. You should leave him alone to run it how he pleases. You can give him suggestions, but the idea that you can decide for him who should and shouldn't be on the panel and to kick it and snipe it. It's just sheer arrogance, and it's just a fucking bullshit move. So, one of the things that happened this week was seeing Nathan Oakley get his ass kicked a couple of times in a row, which was quite fun. Tim shared the latter half of a conversation where Channel Q Oakley'd Oakley sort of thing, and shouted him down, used his own stupid techniques against him, and watch him flounder, which was pretty funny to see. It just demonstrates what we all know, is that really the guy's just all mouth. And then that was followed up by Conspiracy Cats catching him out with the diffraction thing. Same thing, when he's out of his environment and he's not got his mute button, he really doesn't know anything about the subjects that he tries to sound knowledgeable in, and he just flounders. When he's not got his mute button and he doesn't have any kind of backup, any way of shouting somebody down and preventing them from cornering him, he's screwed. He doesn't know what to say because he really doesn't understand these subjects at all. But if anybody has any, I don't know how people have gotten to see these pieces of, video with Q and whatever, but there was the channel it came from is the Hitchhiker's Guide to Earth, and this is the video they've put up of that full conversation. It's like about 40 minutes long. Excuse me again. Do you know what? I'm going to see if I can get this to. Maybe this will do. So this video here is quite good to watch. It's the full conversation. If anybody hasn't seen the full conversation with Oakley, it's with Skyfly Bry and Channel Q, and it's fun to listen to. But this little clip, they're talking about something, and it's part of what I want to talk about. Let's see if I can get it to work. Right.
Made up. Right. Imagine this is the round flat Earth, and you have three.
Right, I'm just going to pause that a second, and if you make sure that you guys have caught up a bit. But Dan, exactly. He's all mouth on his own channel. He thinks he's the dog's bollocks, basically, but he really is a joke, and he's so clueless. It's ridiculous. Actually, speaking of which, that reminds me of the other thing that just recently happened there, which I wasn't going to talk about, was the whole Professor Dave Explains thing as well. That's another classic. The Globebusters' response to Dave has been really kind of sad and pathetic, and it's one of these things. They do such long videos that it makes it impossible for you to want to actually sit down and kind of pick it apart. You know what I mean? But I would love to actually sit down and kind of just tear the Globebusters' response to Dave apart, but I don't think that's going to be necessary anyway, because Dave's a smart guy and he knows how to put a video together, and he's going to be doing a rebuttal to their nonsense, so I'll be looking forward to that. So let me just check. I'll tell you what, see this trying to interact with people when there's a delay between you speaking and whatever. Oh man, it's a nightmare. Right, so thanks, Skydog. I just with the problems I'd had with the tabs and the memory, I just want to be sure that it's definitely being seen. So, getting on. One of the common things, as we all know, is the Southern Celestial Pole situation. Southern Celestial Pole causes problems for Flat Earth because really there's only a couple of ways that the Earth can be laid out if it's a flat Earth, and the most common one obviously is the whole disc-shaped thing. A lot of them promote the AE map. And several people over the course of this discussion, if you want to call it that, have spoken about this whole idea looking south from, South America, Australia, etc., and seeing the southern celestial pole. Anthony Riley, actually, if I remember right, is one of these people, although obviously nothing he says is to be trusted. Or if he can see, examples of people looking south from each of those continents and seeing the same sky, the southern celestial pole, that he would become a glober. Now, I don't believe that. I don't think it, realistically, Anthony, no matter what you think of him, he's always going to find an out, Whether you think he's really a flat earther or at it, it doesn't matter. He's kind of got a game that he plays, and even if you could show, he has one of these kind of people you could take him up into space, and he will find some bizarre way to argue around it and still remain in the game because he likes it. So in this conversation, in this video, the same thing, basically the same discussions being had between Skyfly Bry and Nathan Oakley. Now, I'm not sure exactly which point I've got the conversation at here, but you can see the graphic that Skyfly Bry has put up. It's representing that thing. So this is what we're talking about. I'll play a bit of it just to see where it's at and see if we can get the idea.
Servers, one's in South Africa.
Oh. What the? What the what is going on tonight? Come on. Man, it doesn't look like this live stream is going to go very well at all tonight. Jesus. I just want to see if I can get a response here from something, or if it's all buggered again. If I can't get my tabs to work, then there's no point. I'm going to assume from the fact that from my point of view as well, that there doesn't seem to be anything happening with the chat at all, that everything's frozen again. There has to be a better way. What a nightmare. So the videos I've got up are no loading now. Just when I'm getting to the point where I was actually going to start sharing some stuff with you. The video that I was trying to base the initial point I was going to talk about has miraculously become unavailable. I'm really sorry about this. Obviously, it's not something I can control. I really don't know what's going on with the. I mean, I've been in this situation before with the computer itself, where I've had a few tabs open and all that kind of stuff, and I've not run into this problem. It occasionally gets like a bit sticky for like a second or two, and then it kind of sorts itself out. Ah, god damn it. I really, really don't want to close every single one of these tabs and try and open them all again. This is a nightmare. What I might do is, let me see. There's a quick way to open recent tabs, isn't there? Wonder if I could close it down and do that. Let's try. Interesting. Ah, Jesus, this is a nightmare. So, I need to see if I can get... Let me see if I can find this channel again. Really wants to annoy me tonight. Well, it seems like that video is gone, so you can just forget that. This video isn't responding, so we'll close that, and then we'll try. Well, this is what I'll do. It was a bunch of different time lapses, which I was just about to get to. Right, guys, sorry about this. Just lets me see if I can get these tabs opened up and see if I can get it all sorted again. Oh, it's just behaving so badly. Right. I can get rid of that. This is really shitty and not at all the way it was supposed to go, so thanks. Sorry about all the dead air and stuff, guys. It's just, this is driving me nuts. Told you I'm not a good multitasker, and I wasn't expecting it to go so horribly wrong. So if you can just bear with me, and I'll see if I can get these videos to work. So let me just jump in. I'm going to check my phone and see if this is... Right, okay. Right. So the point I was trying to get to, obviously, is that we know that we've got this whole southern celestial pole thing. You look out from the three, continents in the southern hemisphere, South America, Australia, Africa, and look and see the southern celestial pole. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to just look around and see if we could find some examples of that, because it's not obviously going to be easy for a single person to travel around and do that kind of stuff. And then obviously not so easy as well to actually locate astronomers and coordinate with them and try and get observations done on the same night and stuff like that. But we live in the information age, and there's people out there who are always watching the night sky, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube, and none of them need to be attached to flat Earth. It's just people watching the sky. So I thought it would be worth having a look around to see what I could find of images or time lapses or whatever, the southern celestial pole from each of these continents. So let me just shift this. So I did have these in a certain order, but I don't want to keep messing about with it, since it keeps breaking on me. Just let us play a second. Okay, so this first one is going to be a bit hard to see. I'm just going to full screen it. So as you can see from the title of this one, it's taken from New Zealand. Now, I'm no an astronomer, and certainly obviously no based in the southern hemisphere, but a little bit of looking around, I was able to get a bit of a feel for the kind of key things that you're looking for in these images. So if I get this wrong, I'm sure somebody will correct me on it. But what you're looking at here is the Milky Way running up here, and within this area are the key things that you want to look for when you're looking for the South Celestial Pole and you're looking for the Southern Cross and so on. This is the kind of key point that you want to look at. So this area here is the Southern Cross, and one of the ways of identifying it when you're looking at this band of the Milky Way is to look for this here, which is the Coalsack Nebula. And then these 5 stars, there's more stars visible, but the primary 5 stars that make up the Southern Cross are this one here, this one here, this one here, that one, and this little one in between. And that makes almost a kind of a diamond shape pointing this way. So you've got the Southern Cross next to the Coalsack Nebula. To the left here, you've got 2 bright stars, which is Alpha and Beta Centauri, which are also known as the pointers. So these are your kind of key stars to look for when you're looking for the Southern Celestial Pole, and being within this section of the Milky Way, an easy way to identify where to look for them as well. And then looking over to the other side of the sky, you have the large Magellanic Cloud and the small Magellanic Cloud down here. And there's a very bright star over here, which, if I'm getting my names right, is Canopus. So this region of the sky has several features. I'm sure there's more if you're into the astronomy, but those are what I would say are always going to be the key features that you can spot when you're looking for the Southern Celestial Pole. So we'll just let that play for a second. So you've got the Southern Cross here, next to the Coalsack. The pointers here, Alpha and Beta Centauri, Canopus, large Magellanic Cloud, and small Magellanic Cloud's harder to see, but it's just spinning around down here. So it's not so easy to see it in that one, but you can identify all the features. Very true, Globe Earth, very true. So that was from New Zealand. next one, as I say, I did have them in an order, I don't know. So this is from a place called McGregor in South Africa. You can look that up. It's I think it's quite near to Cape Town, if I remember right. Now let me put that on full screen. So before we start, you can look for these features and identify them again. So starting on this side, Milky Way, you've got the Coalsack Nebula here, and then it's a little bit harder to see the stars of the Southern Cross, but you've got here, 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 and then the little one in between. So that's your sort of diamond shape there. You've got your alpha and beta pointers here, and then the two Magellanic Clouds are easier to see in this one, so large, small, and then the bright star over here, Canopus, as I say, if I'm correct. So again, easy to see that you're definitely looking at the same night sky. Just let that go, and you can see it's obviously rotating around the pole. Some really nice stuff, actually. Right, moving on. This is a really nice piece of video. It's 4K from Namibia. So again, we're still in the, you know, in Africa, southern tip of Africa sort of thing. So this is just a double up, obviously, on the information. Let me see if I can find the right section of the video, because it keeps changing to different viewpoints. Alright, so again, just a double confirmation from the same continent, essentially. So here's your Coalsack Nebula here, your Southern Cross stars here, 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 and here. You got your large Magellanic Cloud there. Can't see the small just because of where it is in location with the tree. You've got your two bright stars, Alpha, Beta Centauri, the pointers, and Canopus over here. So again, no doubt it's the same sky, and again rotating around a central point from that location. Right. Now, moving on. This is a terrible piece of footage, the way it's all squished up. You see it's from Chile. I've got better stuff, but I kept it in just to show that even though it's so badly, kind of the ratio on it's so poor and it's a bit fuzzy, you can still make out the key features. So before we start it, hold on, I'll just put it up. It's harder to see, but this is the Coalsack Nebula here, and the part of the, you know, the Southern Cross here and here, and here and here, but you can't quite see the top star. You got your two pointers here and here, and then the large Magellanic Cloud there, and just let it rotate a bit. Obviously, because of the aspect ratio, stuff's disappearing out of the screen, and it's a bit fuzzy, but you can get the idea. It's too quick, that one. It's not the best example, but I just kept it in to show that even on a terrible example, you can still make out the features. Now, this one is a bit more mixed up as well. This is from Chile again. Let me see. So you can see, obviously, this is the Milky Way right through the middle here. Now, if we let it rotate for a second, you can see, you know, the point of rotation again, if you like, and you're looking at the same section of sky. It's a bit hard to make out all the key features, but this is the Coalsack Nebula here, your two pointers here. Obviously, you've got your Southern Cross stars are in here, and then your other features are going to be over here, and you can actually just see some of the other, you know, what you're looking for is just about to come up over the observatory there, but I don't know if the video clip lasts long enough. So So you get this small Magellanic Cloud there. So again, obviously the same features, obviously rotating again around the same central point. Let me see, I think there's another clip. That's not. This one's a bit more mixed up, so it's harder to find the right pieces to look at. Well, this is just this was a zooming in on a shot, but again, you can make out, you know, those features that we've been looking at, the 2 pointers there, etc. So, if you look around, there are, let's see, I'm sure there was another clip in here, maybe it's earlier on. Let me just double check. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, that's coming up over the horizon. Let's just zooming in, but you can see the large Magellanic Cloud and Canopus there, I believe. These are zooms. Ah, there we go. So there's another view. Just put that back a bit till it sinks into it. So there you can see that obviously it's rotated the other way at this point in the time lapse. So it's you know, compared to the other ones we've been looking at, it's at the point where it's kind of 180 degrees. So small Magellanic Cloud, large Magellanic Cloud, Canopus, and then the other features you're looking for will be over this side, below the horizon. And if the video clip were to last long enough, then obviously it would rotate up above the horizon. You'd be able to see it all. So that's Chile. I know, Frank. I'm expecting that if any flare first sees this stuff, that this is going to be the obvious complaint. It's like, oh, it wasn't all done at the same time. But the whole point is, you obviously take these positions on a map and try and explain to yourself how you can see this exact same piece of sky. If you look at it from a flat Earth point of view, if your only option is to claim that there's 3 separate poles, but they've all got the same configuration, and none of them can be seen from anywhere else in the rest, you know, in the northern hemisphere on the pizza disc. Or you've got to say it's one singular pole that can be seen from those 3 points. But if you take the layout of the disc as being the kind of situation, then obviously you would see a completely different configuration of that section of the sky in the sense that it would be subject to perspective and all this kind of stuff. And of course, if they think the sun can set, then why could you see the southern pole from all 3 continents? It would be far too far away from at least 2 of them or whatever. You know, any way you kind of jumble it around, there's always going to be a problem for this observation. So this is a demonstration that we can see the same night sky from the tips at each of these. Well, the tip is Africa, the tip is South America, and Australia. Well, I suppose the first one is New Zealand, but there is examples from Australia. It was actually one of the very first ones I found, but it just wasn't good. You know, wasn't good quality. I could just about make out the features on it for myself, and I don't think it would be easy for anybody to see it, especially over a live stream. And then I think this was the, you know, same thing again, same area, Chile. I think it's the same observatory actually, Atacama. I think. Let's see. Oh no, it's another one. Sorry, but let me just do that. So I mean, you can see it's the Milky Way, and if you know, when you know what you're looking for, you can spot it in the scene. So Coalsack Nebula over here, the pointers here. You've got the Magellanic Clouds in here, and they're just kind of behind the antenna. You know, so it's always going to be the same result. And you know, the whole kind of scale of the thing and everything, how it looks from each position, tells you it's the same sky. If it was a sky that was somehow over one part of that part of the Earth, but was like able to be seen because it was so high from thousands of miles away on some other far-flung part of the Earth, on a disc shape you're screwed, because you would have to be able to see past the North Pole, you know, the northern polar stars and all that, and the rest of the constellations to see this, and somehow, you know, you would be missing out an entire section of sky to see way beyond it to this. or it would be, you know, all distorted, and you know, all the stars would be bunched together with due to perspective, and yeah, there's all kinds of problems with it. Let's see. So that was the one of the first main things that I wanted to cover in this video, was to just show that there are these examples here of the Southern Celestial Pole, and that what's really cool about the southern sky is it has got those really, really unique and easy to find features. You know, it's not just like a jumble of white blobs that's hard to mistake unless you're like an expert astronomer. I mean, you can see a couple of, you know, you can see nebula in the Milky Way, you can see some very bright stars in very specific configurations, and you know, it's impossible to mistake it for anything else. There's no doubt that it's the same sky in every location. So I think flat earthers, especially people like Riley, and what I was trying to show in that video that for whatever reason crashed on me and disappeared was it was the same discussion that Nathan Oakley was having with Skyfly Bry. Skyfly Bry was trying to, you know, talk about that whole problem for flat Earth. Obviously, Nathan Oakley was just being a dick, but it's been a thing that's been brought up several times, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually bother to take the time to go and look for video footage like this. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, and it's out there. You just need to go looking for it. So, and I'm sure there's more, and I'm sure if people really wanted to know about it, they could contact these observatories that are located in these places and stuff like that, and you know, get some really good footage. And I mean, if you were really dedicated, you could try and get footage that was much closer in terms of date and time that it was taken. So, Southern Celestial Pole definitely exists, very unique, definitely being seen from 3 different continents. So explain that on your flat Earth, guys. Let me just get rid of these. Can't even remember now. Oh, aye, right. So everything that I had open previously seems to just not want to play all of a sudden, and it's really annoying because I had timestamps, and that's why I'm frustrated about it more than anything, because it's not just a case of opening the video up again. It's actually finding timestamps. Right, these two don't matter so much, but this was the next thing I wanted to talk about. If it works. Do you know what? Let me see if I can get that. Hey. Right, so let's get rid of that. And then right. Righty. Okay, hold on, let me unmute this and bump up the volume and just make sure that you guys can hear it before I proceed. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to play the whole clip. I've got 2 wee sections just to kind of get the idea across. So I'm going to hit, you know, I'll hit play, just make sure it's working. Well, I'm sure I'll hear it, but just again, if you guys can just double check with me that you can hear the video.
Here's the issue. Here's the issue with you guys putting those images up and squishing.
That's the wrong way around. Right, give me a second. That's the second clip that I want to show. How did that happen? Let's try this.
A normal vector coming out of a boat.
That's the same one. That's a different timestamp. Hold on. No, wait a minute. Okay, right.
Yeah,
Well, you did ask me.
Yeah, a boat
did-
has a normal vector. You agree that that vector is
Right, I
constantly
don't wanna
changing
hear
orientation
Mog.
as
Well,
it moves.
pressing
Maybe
left
back
to
of it.
right to show the curve.
Right. Just before I crack on, did you guys catch the little bit of audio that would have been playing there while I was kind of messing around? Maybe I should type that with a delay. Honestly, this setup's just a nightmare. Yes, Skydog, I fully agree. Rumpus is very knowledgeable. He's just a bit too much at times. He needs to calm himself down, and especially needs to not talk over the top of people. Right, good. So this is just it was Rory has obviously done one of these horizon tests, and he's obviously not the first to do those types of tests. I quite like Rory's one because the rig that he's built with the kind of little section in between that you view the horizon through. But he was on Jose's that would make a good sketch, Globe Earth. So Rory was on presenting this information on Jose's panel a couple of days back, and Rumpus did keep interrupting him quite a lot, but let me just play a bit of it.
And Slicebar and Jeranism did some kind of an exercise in his kitchen, and Slicebar Kane did an answer.
Create illusions.
I'm just going to skip around.
Anything beyond our eye will do that.
The compressor.
It's just one person.
Wait. I get.
Oh, here we go. Right.
What's stopping you from seeing?
So there's one of the images he showed where he's taken a photograph and then he's compressed it. So this is a technique that's been done a few times, like Red's Rhetoric, Sean Hufford. I've not seen it personally. I think Mick West has done it, so it's a thing a few people have done. But what I think is that there's a lot of confusion about what you're actually seeing here. And I think that's one of the reasons why you get the arguments as well. Probably one of the reasons why Rumpus was interfering, although he was talking more about the setup. But Flat Earthers obviously don't like this because you can see curve in it, and it's with reference to something that's straight. But I think there's a lot of confusion going on with what it's actually showing you. I think they think it's literally the lateral curve of the Earth, and it's not that. It is the horizon. It's the horizon, the circle of the horizon. So it's the effect of the curve of the Earth, but it's not the actual curve of the Earth. And I thought it might be nice to try and explain that. But the thing is, it's funny you're talking about brevity, obviously, but there is two ways to go about that. There's the kind of slightly longer way, and then there's the really, really simple way you could demonstrate to yourself in about 5 seconds. But I just want to be, try and clarify it, but then I can't guarantee that I'll do a better job of explaining it. Well, let's see if this works. I was trying to make up some crappy little graphics to talk about this, but it was just to explain the point, and I never actually finished making every graphic that I think would help. So just bear with me on this one. See, this is the thing, Globe Earth Perth. This is why I'm doing this, because I think I've seen a lot of people complain about it, and it's not just from the Flat Earth side. There is, people on the Globe Earth side that are complaining about it. But I think well, that's not true. I was going to say if everybody understood, that might not be so much a problem. But then Flat Earthers don't like to know what's going on and like to ignore what's going on. But right, so let me get this. That's not. Come on, it's not responding again. Jesus. This thing is doing my nut in the night. Look at that. No, this now. Yep, looks like that's away. Unbelievable. Oh my. Right, let's see if we can get rid of this. Give me a sec and I will just grab that again. Hopefully. It has been really slow. Maybe I've done something to it. Oh, that is ridiculous. I can't even open a folder. Come on. Again, guys, sorry about this, and thanks for sticking with it and waiting. It's bad enough not being a particularly well organised person, but when stuff like this happens, it makes it a lot worse. Come on, come on. Right, this is, just really basic stuff, but I wanted to try and give a really kind of brief description of what's going on. Whether I'm successful or not, we'll see. But the point with it, if you take a look at the small circle, this is the kind of thing that we usually see when we see, sites like Metabunk and anything that does like curve calculators and diagrams that demonstrate how much drop there should be, this kind of stuff. Whenever you've got either, a line of sight or a tangent line drawn or whatever on that, it's an out of scale example, and it's usually as ridiculous as this. I don't know if we can maybe zoom in a bit. So I just drew the line here to represent a tangent line, and that's what in general what the horizon is that if you've got a viewer standing somewhere on the Earth and they're looking out, the horizon occurs when their line of sight forms a tangent with the surface of the Earth. But these kind of examples are poor because of the scale. I made a slightly bigger scale version with the same length for a tangent line there, just to kind of give that general idea that scale really does make the difference. When you compare it on this example, you can see that it's closer to flat, which is something I've shown in a previous video. So obviously if this was just absolutely massive as it should be, you'd be looking at a really tiny little section here. And the thing about your horizon is that a sphere is a uniform shape. It's the same geometry around you in every direction and from any point on it. So if you're looking straight out in front of you and your eyesight forms a tangent across the curve, it doesn't matter what direction you look in a full 360 degrees, the tangent will occur at the same distance away from you and the same height below you across that surface. I would like to have a nice graphic for that, but I don't. So this is what the horizon is on a sphere. It's that tangent line, where your line of sight crosses. Now the thing about that is that it means that if you're standing in the centre of a circle, if you consider this is a top-down view now, so you would have the viewer in the centre here, and this circle would represent the horizon line, which is a point that's equidistant from them in every direction that you look. So this is the tangent in the dark blue, if you like. And the thing that what's important to realise is that although from the central point outwards the tangent is occurring at an equal distance in every direction, if you think about it from the point of view of looking straight forward, as a viewer standing here and looking straight forward, there's a kind of horizontal distance involved, if you like. So looking out straight in front of you, this point of the horizon is a greater distance away from you. I've just put random numbers in here, but you think about it, you can think it as 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles. So the radius from your point out to that tangent may be equal as you look around the circle. Just say that's 30 miles. But in terms of where it falls within your field of vision, directly out in front of you, this part of the circle is in a closer part of your field of vision. It's closer to you, and then moving out horizontally, so to speak, it's getting further. Each point is getting further and further and further away from you. And like everything that we look at, everything that's going away from you in distance, it's affected by perspective because of the way your eyes work. So, just like it doesn't matter whether you're looking down a hallway and you're seeing, lights that seem to be angling down and a surface that's angling up, everything's going to converge within your eyesight. So the stuff that's closer to you will be wider apart, so to speak, and the stuff that's further away will begin to converge in. But then there's the vertical component to it. Let's see. Let me come back to that in a second. So if you consider this your standard sort of side view, it's the kind of thing we see when we're talking about perspective usually. This just represents the kind of angles that things come towards the observer. And I've just kept the same numbers in here as a rough guide to give an idea. So if this is the viewer over here somewhere, and this is elevated in some way above the surface nearest to you is at a steeper angle below you, and then the surface furthest away from you is coming in, to your vision at a lesser angle. That's probably not the best way to explain that. But the point being that the further something gets away from you, this angle becomes shallower and shallower. And this is where you get, parallax and things like this. So obviously when you're looking at a distant object, just say a mountain was over here, when you move up and down, the mountain won't appear to move a lot within your field of vision, but things that are closer to you back here, you'll see those drastic changes. And it's like if you imagine having, as if you're attached to the object you're looking at in the distance, as if you're hinged on it, and you're moving up and down. It's kind of like that effect. It appears as though this appears stationary while you move up and down, and things closer to you move further in your field of vision than the things further away from you. I may be confusing this more than I intend to by rambling on about this. So, going back to this diagram here, if you're thinking about the top-down view and you're looking out at the horizon round about you and thinking about this perspective effect, the distance from you, you're obviously only ever going to be looking at a semicircle because you can't see 360 degrees around you. So this is the kind of view you're going to get from a camera looking at the horizon out in front of you. And then just going to this, these triangles represent field of view. So that if you were looking with a wide angle or looking with your eyes, you might see that entire semicircle like here. But then if you're looking with different cameras, just say, you might see this portion of the horizon because this is your field of view. And then if you're zooming in, you'll see even less of the horizon here. Now in Rory's photographs, he's looking pretty much at the whole semicircle around about him because he's just using an iPhone. And then the perspective thing comes into play. He's up at an elevated position, so the surface here is angled down more, so to speak, and then it would appear to slowly ramp up due to perspective towards the furthest point. And what that means is that you've got a circular or semicircular shape which is angled slightly down from your point of view. I don't have a graphic to really go on with this, but I think a way of thinking about this is what I was saying about it's like something in the distance it appears hinged, and the bit nearest to you is the bit that moves the most. If you think about, like, say, let me think, a door knocker but in reverse. You know, you get these kind of brass door knockers, and obviously it's like a semicircle. You lift it up and you chap it, and it's hinged. If you think about the shape of that just being spun around, and the circular part, the semicircular part, is the bit that runs through the hinge. It's that same effect. You're seeing a semicircle, and because you're raising your elevation above it, the outer extent of that semicircle is appearing to, well, it is below you, it sinks below you, but due to perspective, as it gets further and further away, the further point of that semicircle appears to slightly ramp up. So what you're actually seeing in photographs like Rory's, that's here, is just part of the circle of the horizon. It's just the tangent point. All it is the actual horizon running around Rory, if you like, in 360-degree circle all around about him, and then he's got the section that he can see within his field of view. Because it's quite a wide angle, because it's from a phone, as I've said, he's seen almost a full semicircle, and then the reason it appears to slope down is because these are the points nearest to him which are physically, they appear lower in his field of vision due to perspective, and then the furthest point here is just slightly ramping up. I don't know if I'm doing the best job of explaining it. It's always easy to imagine these things and a little bit harder to describe them, and a simple graphic could describe it. But the simplest way, the short version, is as long as you know that it is a circle. Take any circular object you like. What happens when you angle it, when you spin it on a kind of central point? It goes from a circle to an ellipse. It's essentially that same thing, except that you're only seeing half of it instead of the full circle. So I don't know if I've done the best job of explaining it, but it's frustrating me because I think there's a lot of ambiguity about what's actually being seen in the photograph. And I think for the flat earthers' point of view, a lot of them think that this is the claim, that this is the actual circle of the full lateral circle of the Earth. If I go back to the graphics there, like if this was the full Earth, as if it's like some big section of it like this that's somehow being squished into the photograph, which is not the case. It's the tiny little circle of the horizon around about the viewer. And I think it's a bit misleading because people just say, "Aha, look, there's curvature," rather than actually explaining that it's just the horizon itself. But the flip side to that is the point that because it actually behaves that way, because it behaves precisely as a circle being viewed in perspective from an elevated position, it actually demonstrates that it is the horizon caused by the tangent of your line of sight, which doesn't really support flat Earth. And then I think some globe people aren't sure about what's actually been seen in the photographs, and they doubt it, and they say, "Oh no, that can't be the curvature," and stuff like that. You disagree. So if you had a hula hoop, just say you had your head in amongst the hula hoop and then you angled the hula hoop, you don't think the perspective would come into play? Oh, this delay is a nightmare. It's a certain distance away from you to your left and right, but in terms of the position it takes up within your field of view, it's closer to you. That part of the circle would be closer to you. It'd be taking up that position if you think about it, let's say if you take your actual head as the point of view rather than your eyes, maybe that make it a bit easier. So if you've got a circle round about you, you may be at the centre, and each point is technically equidistant from you, but in terms of where they take up the physical space within your field of view, you've got a hula hoop parallel with your ears. You know, and you've got part of it parallel with your ears, then another part of it is away out in front of you in the centre. So it's the same distance, but it's taking up a different part of your field of view, and that's where the perspective comes in. A hula hoop's maybe not the best example because of how small and local it is and everything. Obviously, we're talking about much bigger distances, but you know, I'm just trying to get the idea across. The drawings are not the best. The graphics are, and I never finished every graphic that I think would sort of help to explain it. Which I did say at the beginning, it's a wee bit annoying. The graphics are not the best, and there's a couple of more that could probably be done to better explain it. So, you know, hopefully I've not confused the issue. As I said, the simple way to think of it is just something circular, and then angling it, which is a kind of representing you raising your altitude above it from the centre. Keith, I'm not sure what you're meaning there, because I was talking about obviously being in the centre with the hula hoop around you. So, in terms of raising altitude, your location relative to the hula hoop, part of it is still behind you, and some of it is out in front of you. Obviously, eventually, if you get enough altitude, it's going to be like right below you, and you can look down at it. But that doesn't represent the kind of view you're getting when you're a few hundred feet up above the surface of the Earth. Right, but from any fixed position of altitude, there's no expansion, obviously. It's only when you keep raising your altitude you then get that effect you're talking about with the radius increasing. Where I obviously know what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about a constant increase in altitude. I'm talking about this photograph example where people are doing the compression effect. So obviously they're at a set altitude and they're looking out towards the horizon. And I think that people are thinking that they're looking at lateral curvature running across from left to right, when it's not actually that. It's the circle of the horizon. I could really do with some better graphics or something physical to demonstrate it. It would be helpful. Just while, you know, people are thinking about it or whatever, the other clip that I had queued up was a bit later in the conversation, and it was Mind of God. It kind of chipped in with this, and he had this to say about the fact that people were kind of claiming this was the curvature.
Angle. This is the tilt angle as a result of moving along the surface of the Earth.
It's the missing piece to those images, because the images could be showing curve, but the next thing that would make it conclusive would be that showing that somehow. That
you wouldn't see that.
Yeah.
But here's the issue with you guys putting those images up and squishing them and all that. I applaud that. I think that's brave. The more you guys keep doing that, though, we're gonna ask you, where is that in physical space, and then that distance we're gonna now know that you guys are committing to that being curve, and then we're gonna look for other things that are that far apart, and then say it better match what you're showing. Correct? It's not.
See, that this is the kind of comment that I think we've got a problem with when you show these kind of squished images, as the misinterpretation of it. In my opinion, Mind of God is making it sound like that's a kind of fixed size for the Earth type of thing, where you would expect to get the same result from different locations and see this, you know, this amount of curve, because I think he's got the wrong idea of what the curve is, shown. It's not that he doesn't realise it's the horizon, in my opinion. So of course, raising altitude would increase the radius and change the effect. Of course, it would be more pronounced at greater altitude. But I think it's just, there's something a bit misleading about this technique of taking these kind of photographs and then compressing them. And I don't think that people that are saying, haha, there's the curve, are actually then going on to explain what curve is being seen. And I think, I was trying to do that. Whether it was successful or not is another story. It's always the same. You've got the idea in your head, but whether you can vocalise it as well so other people grab it, and the graphics are only partially helpful. And maybe more helpful to people that already understand it. I don't know. It's a weird one. So there was a kind of list of stuff that I was going to try and go through, and I think it's getting late and this is dragging on, especially with all the problems I've had. So a couple of the things I was maybe going to cover, I will have to leave out, I think, because this is just getting ridiculous. But the one last thing I wanted to mention was, as I was saying earlier, I do think that there's some importance to people having some kind of discussion with each other about some of these topics, and there seems to be a lot of animosity, obviously, between the groups, and there's not a lot of places that people can go. As I said at the beginning, obviously I support Jose, and I'm glad he's doing the open panel thing, but it's also kind of like a messy setup. But what I'm seeing a lot of people complaining about the fact that they can't go places, a lot of people who dislike going to certain places. I see people arguing with each other and offering to debate each other, but then they can't agree on somewhere to go and debate, because if somebody says non sequitur show, they don't want to go there. Now, I understand that. I mean, non sequitur show, it's not really properly moderated most of the time, especially when a flat earther's on, and it seems to be pretty much always Fight the Flat Earth and Aussie Jesus or whatever that's on it all the time. So I can understand why, people are not going to want to go to certain places to have these debates. So whether it's going to be any use to anybody and anybody tries to use this option or no, I thought it might be worth a try to create a little channel and just give people the option to try and do one-on-one. Because that's what, one of the big complaints is, that, you've got two people that are wanting to talk to each other, and they complain about non-sec because it's like 3 and 4 against 1 and stuff like that. And then, of course, there's the bias thing. People, you try to say, well, let's debate on a neutral channel, and of course, technically nobody is neutral, but there's certain people you're just never going to go to. I mean, a person who isn't a flat earther isn't going to go in Nathan Oakley's to try and debate anything. They're not going to go in Dell's to try and debate anything. I mean, there's just some places that it's not just that they're no, it's not just that they're not neutral, but they're just way, beyond reason, and it's never going to be a good place for people to talk. So I thought I would set up a wee separate channel. Just done something really basic here and made a really basic channel. And if anybody wants to use it to set up a one-on-one talk, debate, discussion, whatever you want to call it, it's there. I mean, obviously, I'm talking about me moderating it, and some people might not like that because they think I'm biased, but I can be impartial in terms of people breaking rules and things like that. I mean, if I say one person isn't supposed to insult somebody, I'm not going to allow the other person to insult and things like that. So I kind of set it up. I've done a wee little blurb here to kind of generally explain that. If anybody's interested and they feel like it's something that's going to be any use to them, then just, I'll post this link and you can contact me on the email that's mentioned there. Obviously, it's subject to me being available to, set up a hangout and have 2 people in. But if it's any use to anybody, just try and get in contact with me and set something up. If there's 2 people that want to talk to each other, it might die a death, it might never get used, whatever. But the option's there if you want it. So I'll put the link in the description and see if anybody wants to use it. And if they don't. If you think it's something that might be useful, maybe you could like subscribe to it just as a way for me to gauge whether there's any interest in it, and we'll see how it goes. Hey Jose, we've just been talking about you a wee bit. I was just saying, good job with providing an open platform and stuff like that. But what I've just been talking about here is I've set up this little extra channel for people who want to just do one-on-one and to stay away from places like Nonsec and stuff like that, or Nathan Oakley's, so whether it works or no, whether anybody takes any interest in it or no, I don't know, but obviously it doesn't step on your toes and it doesn't step on anybody else's toes. It's just an option for people, and maybe people will use it, maybe they won't. Right, Keith, sorry about that. I was kind of trying to make sure I got all that out, so let's see what you're saying. Well, that's it, Keith. I think, it's one of these ones, whatever direction you point it in, assuming the camera's level, I think you're going to essentially get the same effect wherever you look. But I don't know if there's a way to get a larger field of view and do the same kind of compression and get the same results, or to somehow do it in camera or something like that would be interesting. But I think at the end of the day, we just like people to know that this kind of effect that's being shown is, it's not like a cross section of the Earth or something like that. It's not some big hump of curve. It's curve going the other way. It's a circle around them, and it's a wee bit frustrating, Yep. I know. I think again, scale comes into it so much as well. These guys, they keep seeming to think that they, can see like big humps of water and stuff like that. It's frustrating that they don't, just a simple thing like that, just grasping how the scale affects things. Realising that when you're standing on a beach looking out across the water, the angles are just so ridiculously shallow or acute. It's almost unfathomable compared to the size of the Earth. It's literally flat. Good point. I suppose it is. I was thinking more of the point that, with him using a camera, that there's quite a wide field of view. But I guess he probably was angling it to some extent. Jose, while you're here, you know what? Give me a minute and I will show you that section of video that I was trying to get you to show. You do it, Keith. You do it. I don't own a hula hoop. What do you take me for? Let me see. Right, let's see. Just find the video. Okay, so this is the video that I've been trying to get you to share, Jose. It's just because people in your chat, like Pete and Travis, are always using these observations where it's, there's refraction and mirroring and things like this. Oh, by the way, I hope I wasn't being serious the other day when I was like, oh, you lied to me. I was, it was just banter. I was just winding you up. That's why I said I wasn't mad. I was disappointed. It's just a joke, but it was, a little bit frustrating at the time, but, it's no big deal. So these guys are always showing, inferior mirage. I've noticed with Travis's observations, he seems to be getting like a lot of refraction happening that's kind of distorting various parts of his image while he's looking throughout the day. And I just wanted to share one example, images that counteract that. So let me just expand it so you can see it a bit better. So just so you know what's going on, I've taken a video and just scanned right down the coastline with the P900 and then I've come back and overlaid photographs that I've taken from a closer position of the same area, and then, you know, so these photographs here, it's 2 photographs I've taken from closer in and zoomed in with the P900 of the same feature that you're looking at here. So obviously you can see this is the horizon running right across here. The level of the horizon never changes, but everything behind the horizon is completely cut off, and you can see by how much, because I've, you know, went to the trouble of getting the comparison photographs. So you get the brown warehouse here as, you know, cut off kind of pretty much all the way up to here. You can see only the peaks of these warehouses here, and you can just about make out the top section of the wall, which is sitting here. Let me just put the sound down when it's... never mind, give me a sec. Let me just get the sound on it. You don't need to hear that. Right, so back to this. I'll just let this play. Right, again, next section. So this building cut off halfway up, so it's up to here. So all this concrete is missing, and then half the building is gone. And none of these have got mirage, and none of them have got, you know, any kind of inferior mirage mirroring and all that. Like, so Pete Shea seems to think there's always inferior mirage, and he's just talking out his arse. Unfortunately, the red bar's making that harder to see, but this is cut off up to about here. Here at the window, and across here. You know, just maybe roughly where these, I assume they're lights or something. So across this kind of level. So again, all the concrete's going, all this much of the building's going here. Now these, as you look at each set of photographs, you're looking at something that's further and further away gradually as you go down the coast. This one is one of my favourite ones, because of the way this roof is sloped down, and you can see it almost looks like it's touching the water there. You know, so this whole warehouse is gone apart from the roof, basically. And then you can see it's the same, you know, at each part of the image. You can see it's cutting off the buildings that are visible, the flats in the background. And if you just move to the next one, thick. So obviously these are slightly different locations, so the angles are different, but you've got this set of flats, you know, the 3 flats, and you can see them, you know, they're different heights. And then this big building here, it's called Pirate Pete's, and the bar's kind of in the way here, but if I put it back a bit, and I'll just let it play, if you look down the bottom end, you'll see that's the bottom left corner is just the tops of those 3 buildings, and the other side you can see that Pirate Pete's thing is cut up all the way up to the roof. It's a bit annoying with the way this red bar appears when you're trying to pause it. That's not the best one, but this is for getting further down the coast, and then like so this. Also the bar's in the way, but that's roughly where the horizon is. I'll let it play again in a second, and you can see that it's, you know, it's essentially cutting off all this section of this cliff that this ruined castle kind of thing is sitting on. I'll just put it back a sec so you can see it a bit better. You see it, you know, you can see the horizon line, it's right up that cliff. And then if you compare the two of them, you can see how far up that hillside is being cut off. Now this one, if you pay attention to this is a really good one. So you've got a castle here sitting on a hill, and to the left is the town, so you can see most of the town here, and then there's a lower area of the town. There's a marina in here, a very small sort of marina where people come out into the water here. This whole section and the cliff that the castle's sitting on is completely gone under the water. That water line is going up here, just underneath this building. So the thing to realise is that this is one singular horizon line, and as I'm working the way down the coast, everything's getting further and further below the horizon as well. So this is the final thing. This is 20 odd miles away. It's Culzean Castle. You can see from these 2 photographs that it's a big building, and it sits on a kind of tall cliff, and we're only seeing up to basically the wall that runs here on this side. You can see it's the, you know, although it's a bit fuzzy, the distinctive shape of the building is there. So you can see that it's basically kind of coming up to roughly about here, running right across. So if you think about the cliff and the bottom part of that castle, and then go way back to one of the earlier examples, let me see. Right, so obviously up to here is much less than that full cliff and half the castle, so that's the point, as well as being cut off in the first place, which you can see, you know, from any one of these buildings, like, you know, this warehouse being gone. You've also got the fact that the further and further you get, the more and more below the horizon they get, more and more is getting cut off. So, and no refraction, no mirage. So it's one example. I've got other things there, but I'm not going to go into that. But it's one of my favourites. It's one of my personal favourites because it's a full coastline. Right. What else? What else? I think I'm going to wrap up, guys. Thanks for showing up. You know, as I say, sorry about all the problems earlier on. That was a pain, and it's kind of dragged me on a lot longer than I expected. So there was a couple other things I was going to go through just for the hell of it. Like, so for example, there was an interaction on Dell's where he was saying stupid things, and I was going to kind of go over some of the things that were being said and stuff like that. But it's no worth it. I think you know, I don't want to bore everybody, and it's getting a bit late, and I need to be up for work in the morning and stuff like that. So let me just double check there isn't something else I need to make sure I say before I go. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I will put the link for that channel that I've created into the description for this video, and I will, I'll see if anybody's interested basically in trying to do the one-on-one thing that way. And as I said, I know there's not too many people watching, but if anybody thinks that that's an idea that they'd like to see, if they think it's useful in any way, if they could maybe subscribe to it just for the sake, like a vote, so if you subscribe to it, it kind of tells you, well, somebody might want to watch that channel if somebody decides to debate on it, you know what I mean? That would be cool. I'll put the link in it. I'll just sling that in just now for the sake of it, and then I'll put the link in the description when I've finished up. Right, guys, again, thanks very much. Apologies again for the problems, and hopefully I'll catch up with you some other time. Let me see if I can quit out of this and without my laptop breaking on me. Right, cheers everybody. See you later.